Funny thing about prayers, people whisper them into the dark, never realizing sometimes the answer isn't light, it's a person. They beg for help, for change, for a sign, and heaven sends you. Not wrapped in gold, not glowing, not perfect. Just you with your flaws, your scars, your messy story. You walk into their life, and suddenly everything starts shifting, not because you're divine, but because you're different. You carry something they don't understand. A strength built from pain, a calm built from chaos. They prayed for peace, and heaven sent them someone who's been through war. You are the answer to someone's unanswered prayer. Most people don't realize that. They think miracles fall from the sky, glowing and soft, with harps playing in the background. But that's not how heaven works. Sometimes the miracle is flesh and bone. Sometimes it's walking, breathing, and doesn't even know what it carries. You've been through things that broke you, but maybe that breaking shaped you into exactly what someone else needs. Your pain became wisdom, your scars became maps, your silence became strength. Somewhere, someone cried out for help, and the universe whispered your name in response. You didn't even know you were being prepared. Every disappointment, every loss, every sleepless night. It wasn't random. It was training. You thought you were being punished, but you were being built. You were made to walk through darkness, so that when someone else finds themselves there, you can guide them out. You've been where they are. You know how the air feels when hope starts to leave the room. That's why you understand pain the way you do. Because you're meant to recognize it in others. You're not just surviving your story. You're carrying someone else's rescue inside it. People often pray for strength, not realizing that strength doesn't fall from the sky. It walks into their life in the form of someone who's already fought their battles. Someone who's learned how to keep breathing when everything hurt. Someone who doesn't talk about miracles because they are one. That's you. You don't look like the answer they expected, but that's what makes it powerful. Heaven doesn't send perfection. It sends proof that survival is possible. Maybe that's why your presence unsettles some people. Because they can sense something in you. Not pride, not arrogance, but depth. A kind of knowing that can't be faked. But it's not about what you say. It's about what you've endured. You've seen too much to pretend. You've felt too much to be fooled. People can't always describe it, but they feel it when you enter a room. The quiet confidence of someone who's been through fire and came out breathing. You remind them that pain has purpose, and that makes you dangerous to everything hopeless. Sometimes you'll meet people whose prayers match your story without them ever telling you. You'll feel drawn to them, as if something invisible connects you. That's heaven's design. You'll say something casual, and it'll hit them like lightning. You'll show up at the right time, say the right thing, do the smallest act, and it'll change their whole day, maybe even their whole life. You won't realize it, but heaven will. Because it's not coincidence, it's calling. You're not wandering. You're being sent. And maybe you've been wondering why certain doors closed, why certain people left, why your path seemed harder than others. It's because you're not meant for easy roads. You're meant to understand things most people never face. You're meant to be real in a world full of pretense. You had to lose to learn compassion. You had to break to learn how to heal. That's how heaven crafts its messengers, through chaos. You don't earn it. You become it. But being someone's answered prayer doesn't always feel like a blessing. Sometimes it's lonely. Because while others see light, you remember the darkness that made it. You remember what it cost to become this strong. And maybe that's why you feel misunderstood. Because people see your strength, but not the story behind it. They call you calm, not realizing it's not calmness, it's acceptance. They call you wise, not realizing it's not wisdom, it's survival. You've become something sacred, not because you're perfect, but because you kept going when it didn't make sense to. You carry light in your eyes that only those still searching can see. You walk differently, not because you're above anyone, but because you know what it's like to be below and rise anyway. And somewhere out there, someone is praying for exactly that. Someone who understands without judging, who listens without fixing, who sees without pretending. And when you cross paths, you'll recognize it instantly. It won't be about words. It'll be a silent knowing that heaven just answered someone's prayer through you. That's the mystery of it all. You think you're just living, just surviving, but you're actually fulfilling something bigger. You're proof that pain can be repurposed, that heartbreak can be holy, that struggle can create servants of light. You've been refined not for applause, but for purpose. You were made to be seen by those who asked heaven for hope, and heaven said, "Here they are." Because sometimes the miracle isn't what arrives, it's their who. Heaven sends strength wrapped in struggle. Nobody wants to hear that. Everyone prays for strength, for courage, for power. But they don't realize what they're asking for. Strength doesn't come from comfort. It's born in chaos. You don't find it in the easy moments. You find it when everything inside you screams to quit, and you keep moving anyway. The cruel part is that heaven never announces it's teaching you strength. It just breaks you, bends you, and watches if you'll rise. You think you're being punished, but really, you're being prepared. You think life's unfair, but it's sharpening you in silence. There's something brutal about growth. It doesn't feel like growth when you're in it. It feels like loss. It feels like isolation. It feels like being stripped of everything you thought you needed. People leave. Doors close. Plans fall apart. And you start to wonder if heaven forgot you. But it didn't. It's just that strength isn't built by adding things. It's built by losing them. When there's nothing left to hold on to, that's when you discover what's really inside you. That's when strength shows up. Quiet, raw, uninvited, but real. You don't wake up strong. You survive enough nights that you stop fearing the dark. You learn to move differently. You start trusting the pain, even when you don't understand it. Because every heartbreak, every failure, every betrayal, it's all molding you into someone unbreakable. The people who laugh the loudest, the ones who carry calm in their chaos, they're not lucky. They're forged. They've been through storms you couldn't stand in. That's why they're unshaken when the wind blows now. They've seen worse. They've lost more. They've lived through what others only imagine. Strength is rarely loud. It's not about showing off muscles or winning arguments. It's silent, steady, patient. It's the way you keep showing up even when you're tired. It's how you still choose kindness when bitterness would be easier. It's how you walk away instead of exploding. It's how you still believe, even when everything inside you tells you not to. That's what heaven was building when you thought life was falling apart. A kind of strength that doesn't need validation, doesn't need applause. You see, heaven doesn't give strength as a gift. It disguises it as struggle. It hides lessons inside loss. It wraps miracles in misery. Because if it handed you strength easily, you'd never value it. You'd never understand its weight. You'd never learn empathy, patience, or faith. Real strength isn't just about endurance. It's about understanding. It's what allows you to look at someone else's pain and say, I know. Not out of pity, but out of experience. It's what makes you dangerous to despair, because you've already danced with it and didn't die. When you look back, you'll notice something. The moments that nearly broke you are the ones that built you most. You'll remember crying yourself to sleep, thinking it was over, and now you'll realize that was the night your spirit learned how to fight. You'll remember the rejection that destroyed your confidence and see how it redirected you toward purpose. You'll remember how you begged for escape, not realizing you were being equipped. The struggle didn't stop you, it shaped you. It gave you endurance disguised as pain. Most people fear struggle because they think it means something's wrong. But sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes the presence of struggle is proof that heaven still sees potential in you. It's saying, you're not done yet. It's sending resistance to reveal resilience. You can't find out how strong you are until something tests it. That's why heaven allows the pressure, to force the power out of you. Diamonds aren't made in comfort. They're made under pressure. And when the storm finally passes, you don't come out the same. You come out quieter, sharper, wiser. You stop chasing things that don't matter. You stop explaining your worth. You stop panicking over what's gone, because you understand that if it left, it wasn't meant to stay. That's strength. The kind no one sees, but everyone feels. The kind that doesn't brag, it just exists. It's written in the way you walk, in the way you look at life now. People sense it. They can tell you've been through fire and didn't burn. You become living proof that struggle isn't failure. It's refinement. You realize that heaven never abandoned you. It was preparing you. Every tear, every loss, every lonely night was sculpting something sacred inside you. You don't need to understand it while it's happening. You just need to survive it. Because one day, someone will look at you and see the strength they prayed for. They'll call it grace, luck, power. But you'll know better. You'll know it was struggle all along, dressed as salvation. Divine timing often looks like human interruption. You think everything's lining up. Your plans feel perfect, your path feels clear. And then suddenly, something shifts. The job falls through. The relationship ends, the opportunity disappears, and you're left standing there asking why. It feels unfair. It feels personal. It feels like life is mocking your effort. You look at the chaos and call it bad timing, but heaven calls it correction. What you see as a delay might actually be a redirection. What you think is rejection might be protection. You wanted what was next, but heaven wanted what was right. It's strange how divine timing never consults your schedule. It doesn't care about your plans, your deadlines, or your comfort zone. It moves when it wants to, how it wants to. Sometimes it crashes in like a storm. Other times it sneaks in like a whisper. You don't always recognize it because it rarely feels divine in the moment. It feels inconvenient. It feels like loss. It feels like being pulled backward when all you wanted was to move forward. But the truth is, you're not being pulled back. You're being positioned. The pause isn't punishment, it's precision. You see, there are doors you would have walked through too early if heaven hadn't stopped you. People you would have trusted too easily if the truth hadn't been revealed. Opportunities you would have chased that weren't built to hold you. Sometimes, heaven doesn't give you what you want because it knows what you can't see. What's on the other side of that? Yes, you call it delay, but it's protection from disaster. You call it loss, but it's clearing the path for something greater. Divine timing never denies, it rearranges. It's hard to accept that when you're in the middle of waiting, because waiting feels like wasting. You see others moving ahead, living the life you thought you'd have by now. And you start to question everything. Your worth, your choices, your faith. You start to wonder if you missed your moment. But you didn't. You're just not supposed to rush a masterpiece. You're being shaped in the silence, molded in the waiting. Because the timing isn't just about the event. It's about who you become before it happens. If you get the blessing too early, you won't know how to carry it. Divine timing works in layers you'll never fully understand until you look back. Every no led you to a better, wise. Every closed door rerouted you to the right one. Every detour taught you patience, resilience, and faith. You start realizing that interruptions weren't obstacles. They were alignments. They pushed you away from what would have drained you and toward what was designed for you. It's just that when heaven intervenes, it rarely feels gentle. It feels like chaos, but chaos is just creation wearing a disguise. The hardest part about divine timing is surrendering control. Humans crave predictability, structure, certainty. You want to plan the outcome, schedule the blessing, time the miracle. But that's not how heaven works. Heaven doesn't operate by your comfort. It operates by your calling. It'll delay what's good to deliver what's meant. It'll strip away everything false to leave you with what's real, and it won't apologize for it. You'll kick, scream, cry, and then one day you'll see why it had to happen that way. It's always funny looking back. The very things you cursed, the moments you thought broke you, they were the same ones that built you. You realize that if you had gotten what you wanted when you wanted it, it would have destroyed you. You weren't ready. You didn't have the discipline, the clarity, the strength yet. The wait wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You were being refined so that when the moment came, you could sustain it. Because heaven doesn't hand out blessings to the unready. It delivers them to the prepared. You begin to understand that interruptions aren't interruptions at all. They're divine timing showing up unannounced. They're the universe rearranging things while you panic, trying to make sense of the mess. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start whispering, "Maybe this is for me." You stop forcing what's fading and start trusting what's unfolding. You stop fighting the flow and start moving with it, even when you can't see where it's going. Because deep down, you know, heaven doesn't make mistakes, only moves. One day, everything clicks. The closed doors make sense. The waiting feels worth it. The detours reveal their purpose. You see how everything that felt like loss was actually alignment. You see how every delay saved you from disaster. You see how every unanswered prayer was heaven saying, "Not yet, not there, not them." And it hits you. Divine timing was never late. It was waiting for you to be ready. It's interesting how truth has a way of surfacing when it's time. Not when you demand it, not when you beg for it, not even when you think you're ready for it. It comes crawling out when heaven decides you've earned the right to see what's been hidden in plain sight. You think you know people. You think you understand intentions. But the truth is, you only see what people allow you to. You fall for their smiles, their stories, their carefully rehearsed performances, and you believe them. Until heaven flips the script. Suddenly, the mask slips. The light shines a little too bright, and the lies start to melt away like cheap paint in the rain. There's a strange kind of silence right before the truth reveals itself. It's almost peaceful, like the calm before an explosion. You sense something's off, but you can't quite name it. You start noticing things. The tone of someone's voice, the inconsistency in their stories, the way their eyes avoid yours when you ask too much. It's subtle, but your spirit knows before your mind does. It whispers. Something isn't right. And you ignore it because truth is uncomfortable. It threatens the image you've built, the comfort you've clung to, the illusion you've chosen to live in. But heaven doesn't deal in illusions. It deals in exposure. When the exposure comes, it doesn't knock politely. It barges in like a storm and destroys whatever was built on lies. You stand there, watching everything crumble, realizing how blind you were. You replay conversations, moments, and gestures, seeing them all differently now. What once looked like care now feels like control. What sounded like loyalty now echoes with manipulation. And yet, there's something strangely liberating about it. Painful, yes, but freeing. Because once the truth shows up, it doesn't leave room for deception anymore. It clears the air, whether you're ready or not. You see, heaven doesn't expose to embarrass you. It exposes to free you. To break the hold of deceit that's been quietly draining you. You thought that person's presence was a blessing, but heaven saw the poison behind the smile. You thought you needed them, but heaven knew they were only using you. So it orchestrated a moment, a conversation, a mistake, a revelation, and suddenly everything made sense. You see the truth, and you can't unsee it. The illusion shatters, and though it hurts, you finally breathe real air again. What's fascinating is how the same people who lied about you start to get caught up in their own web. You don't have to expose them. You don't have to fight for the truth. You just have to stand still long enough for heaven to do what it does best. Reveal. The same mouths that spoke against you start tripping over their own stories. The same hands that pointed at you start scrambling to defend themselves. It's poetic, really. The truth doesn't need your defense. It has a way of writing its own confession. And then comes the irony. Those who once questioned your character suddenly see what you were trying to hide from yourself. They see the mask fall off the one who deceived you. They see the game that was played behind your back. And they start to understand that you weren't paranoid. You were perceptive. You weren't bitter. You were betrayed. They start whispering about the one who lied. And this time, heaven makes sure everyone hears. But here's the twist. The exposure isn't just about them. It's about you too. Because deception doesn't just hurt, it teaches. It strips you of naivete, forces you to see beyond the surface, and pushes you closer to discernment. You start trusting less in people and more in energy, less in words and more in consistency. You start recognizing patterns before they repeat. And most importantly, you stop depending on validation from those who live behind masks. You start understanding that truth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply reveals. The person who lied on you thought their story would become your identity. They thought if they said it enough times, people would believe it. But heaven doesn't work that way. Lies have expiration dates. They may spread fast, but truth ages well. It doesn't rush, it waits for its moment. And when that moment comes, it burns through every lie like sunlight through fog. You don't have to fight for vindication. You just have to stay quiet long enough for the light to do its job. What they didn't realize was that lying on you was the beginning of their own downfall. They thought they were burying your name, but they were actually planting your reputation. The same people who laughed behind your back will now watch heaven elevate you in front of them. Not out of revenge, but revelation. Because heaven's justice doesn't humiliate, it educates. It shows the world who was real, who was fake, and who was chosen all along. And when it happens, you won't even feel the need to say, "I told you so." You'll just smile quietly, because you'll understand now. Truth doesn't need applause. It just needs time. It's strange how heaven works in silence. You expect thunder, lightning, loud announcements, something dramatic, something obvious. But instead, it moves quietly. It whispers through moments, nudges through coincidences, rearranges things without warning. You think nothing's happening, but in reality, everything's shifting behind the scenes. Someone's name is being mentioned in a room you've never been in. Someone's decision is aligning with your destiny. Someone's prayer, not yours, theirs, just included you. And that's when heaven begins its work. You see, heaven doesn't forget its favorites. It might test them, stretch them, silence them for a while, but it never abandons them. When it says your name, things move. Doors open that no man can shut. Conversations change direction. People start feeling a strange pull toward you, not knowing why. That's divine interference, the kind that makes people think it's coincidence when it's really orchestration. Heaven doesn't need your permission to bless you. It just needs the right moment to reveal what's already written. And right now, someone's prayer is echoing your name. Someone is speaking on your behalf without even realizing the power of their words. You think you've been forgotten because it's been quiet, but quiet doesn't mean empty. Quiet means loading. It means heaven is aligning, adjusting, preparing. It means the right hearts are being softened. The right hands are being positioned. The right minds are being awakened. The answer is in motion, even if you can't see it yet. You ever notice how sometimes the people you least expect become the ones heaven uses to lift you? Not the ones you invested in, not the ones you helped, not the ones who promised to stay, but strangers, unexpected allies, divine replacements. That's how heaven works. It takes the most unlikely pieces and fits them perfectly into the puzzle. It uses people you'd never think of to deliver blessings you never saw coming. Because heaven's plan isn't based on your logic. It's built on divine irony. You spent so long wondering why certain people left, why doors closed, why opportunities dried up. You thought it was punishment, when in fact it was clearance. Heaven was making room. You couldn't step into what's next, still holding on to what was meant to stay behind. And now, with the space cleared, something new is arriving. Someone who's been praying for something different. Peace, clarity, purpose is about to cross paths with you. And when they do, they'll realize you were the answer they didn't know they were asking for. That's the beauty of divine connection. It doesn't need planning. It just needs timing. When heaven says it's time, nothing can stop the collision. You'll find yourself in the right place, at the right moment, saying the right words without even trying. It'll feel natural, but it won't be. It'll be orchestrated. You'll look back later and realize every delay, every heartbreak, every moment of isolation was just preparation for that one divine intersection. And suddenly, it all makes sense. The ones who lied on you, doubted you, walked away. They'll watch as heaven reverses the narrative. Because heaven doesn't just restore, it rewrites. It doesn't just vindicate, it elevates. When heaven moves, it doesn't whisper your story, it broadcasts it. Not for your ego, but for proof. Proof that no lie can outlive truth. No betrayal can outlast destiny, and no darkness can hide what heaven decides to reveal. You'll know heaven's moving when things start feeling strangely aligned. When resistance fades. When people who once ignored you suddenly remember your name. When opportunities you didn't chase start chasing you. That's the quiet chaos of divine orchestration. It feels accidental, but it's intentional. It looks random, but it's rehearsed. You think you stumbled into it, but heaven placed you right there. Someone out there is right now preparing something that carries your name. A recommendation, a contract, an introduction, a chance. It's already being shaped. You're not waiting for it. It's waiting for you to step into the right position. Heaven doesn't deliver blessings to chaos. It delivers them to alignment. That's why you had to go through loss, confusion, isolation. Not because you were forgotten, but because you were being tuned to receive what's next. It's easy to think nothing's changing when all you see is silence. But silence isn't absence, it's construction. Heaven doesn't build in noise, it builds in stillness. And when it's ready, when everything is aligned, when the timing matches the preparation, it opens the curtain without warning. Suddenly, you're standing in a moment that feels too perfect to be coincidence. That's heaven's signature, perfection disguised as timing. And when that moment arrives, it won't feel forced. It'll feel like recognition, like something that was meant to happen all along. Because heaven doesn't rush, it waits. It waits for the exact second when everything lines up. Your growth, their readiness, the world's need for what you carry. And then it whispers, now. You ever notice how everyone loves the idea of being the chosen one? Special, destined, different from the rest of the crowd. They cling to that fantasy like a lifeline, like a shiny badge pinned to their chest saying, I matter. Oh, it feels good, doesn't it? But what if the joke is that you weren't chosen at all? What if you've been duped, tricked into believing you were handed some sacred mission, some divine spotlight, when really you just bought the story they sold you so you'd behave, obey, and never question the stage you're standing on? Yes, that beautiful little badge people love to wear. Chosen. Such a dazzling word, isn't it? Like a spotlight shining down on you from the heavens, halo and all. Oh, how intoxicating it feels to believe you're plucked out of the crowd, picked by fate, kissed by destiny. Everyone else. Just background characters, extras in the movie of your life. It makes your chest puff just a little, makes your steps feel grander, makes your reflection wink back at you like it knows a secret the world hasn't figured out yet. That is the trap, see? The world figured out something centuries ago. Nothing enslaves a person faster than telling them they're special in a way they didn't earn. Give someone the illusion of importance, and you don't need chains, rules, punishment. They'll lock themselves up. They'll stay in line, clutching that shiny identity like a sacred trophy. Because once someone believes they're chosen, they become terrified of losing the title. And fear. Oh, fear is the leash no one sees, because it's wrapped inside pride. Pride masquerading as purpose, purpose disguised as destiny. Destiny sold as truth, by whoever benefits from your belief you think being chosen means you're powerful. Funny thing, most people who believe they're chosen stop questioning everything. The script, the stage, the ones pulling the curtains. Why would they question? They're chosen. They already think the universe picked the right role for them. They become obedient not because someone forced them, but because they don't dare break the illusion that crowns them. They sit quietly, play their part, wait for the grand moment they believe they deserve just for existing. They don't take risks. They don't rebel. They don't explore. They don't confront. Chosen ones don't shake things. They protect the pedestal they worship themselves on. But here's the twisted little truth hidden behind the velvet curtain. If you were truly chosen, you wouldn't need anyone to tell you. You would already be burning through the world with your own force, carving space without permission, without prophecy, without applause. Why would destiny need PR? Why would fate need hype? The very moment someone needs to convince you that you're chosen, they're already nudging your strings, whispering in your ear like a puppeteer who wants you dancing just the way they planned. So they stroke your ego, polish your pride, feed you fairy dust until you choke on it, and think it's oxygen. And oh, the tragedy. Once you accept the chosen label, you cling to it tighter than life itself. You start depending on it. Define yourself by it. You can't question who you are anymore, because without that title, you fear you'd crumble. You stop building yourself, because you think the world already built you. You stop striving, because you assume destiny will carry you. You stop growing, because you think you've already been finalized, stamped, certified special. And nothing is more fragile than a person who believes they're complete before they've even begun being chosen. Feels like a gift. But gifts can be traps wrapped in shiny ribbons. Comfort can be a cage padded with compliments. And the belief that you are divinely singled out, that's the perfect lullaby to rock you into sleep while life marches past you. The world doesn't need to break you if you willingly soften yourself into a dream of importance. You start waiting instead of acting, hoping instead of building, assuming instead of questioning. A puppet whose strings are braided neatly out of praise, prophecy, an eagle look around. How many people walk with that lazy confidence, that smirk that says, "My time will come because I'm meant for greatness"? They don't hustle. They don't dig. They don't sweat. They sit on their throne of imagination, starving while believing a feast is on its way, because surely the universe wouldn't forget someone as special as them. Quiet little tragedy, isn't it? When belief in destiny becomes the excuse that stops you from creating your reality. The chosen label doesn't lift you. It numbs you, paralyzes you, holds your potential hostage, while you stroke the illusion of greatness instead of grinding your way into actual power. Destiny. that neat little word sewn into the minds of dreamers and believers like a comforting lullaby. Isn't it adorable how people cling to it? As if some cosmic hand wrote their life on a sacred scroll, sealed it with stardust, and whispered, "Don't worry, your turn is coming." They look up wide-eyed, trusting that something out there has a plan. For them specifically. That's where the fun begins. Because once you accept that story, you're not steering anymore. You're strapped in, hands off the wheel, smiling while someone else drives you exactly where they want you. Destiny doesn't need chains. It whispers sweet promises and watches you hand over your freedom. Like a gift tied with your own ribbon, you think manipulation comes loud and violent. No, no, no. The most delicious control is quiet. It doesn't shout orders, it feeds beliefs. Tell someone they have a destined path, and they will follow it like a happy puppet, never realizing the strings came attached to the prophecy they adored. They think they're chosen, guided, blessed. But really, they're compliant, willingly, joyfully. Because the moment you think life has already chosen a direction for you, you stop questioning who drew the map. And every good trickster knows, if you want to tame a person, don't shove them. Convince them the cage is a throne. People love destiny because responsibility scares them. To believe life is pre-written is such a cozy escape from the terrifying truth that you must build yourself. If things go wrong, destiny did it. If life stalls, destiny is taking time. If they fail, it's not meant for them. How convenient. Destiny becomes the babysitter for the mind, rocking it gently to sleep, while ambition slips quietly out the back door. And oh, how wonderfully tragic it is to watch someone sit, wait, smile at the sky, convinced the universe owes them a delivery of greatness, like a misplaced package that's running late. Ever notice how destiny never shows up when people sit expecting it? But it always seems to find those who tear the script apart, who don't wait for signs or blessings or cosmic approval. Funny, isn't it? Almost as if destiny rewards rebellion, not obedience. But they don't teach that in the spiritual pamphlets, do they? They teach surrender disguised as faith, patience disguised as passivity, hope disguised as helplessness. They tell you the universe chose you, then watch you sit still like a well-trained pet, waiting for a treat that never drops. Quite the performance, and you're the star without even realizing you didn't write the role. And oh, the poetry when someone whispers, it's fate. Fate becomes the perfect excuse to stop thinking, stop questioning, stop doubting the systems built to keep you small. Why rebel when destiny will do the pushing for you? Why break structures when divine timing will whisk you away? Manipulation wrapped in mysticism. What a beautiful trick. Once you believe the universe is doing the work, you never fight the hands really shaping your life. You accept, you comply, you trust, and trust makes you soft. Soft minds are easy to guide. Soft wills are easy to bend. Soft hearts are easy to shepherd into the vision that benefits someone else entirely. You see, destiny is just the leash disguised as a halo. A velvet rope around your neck that feels like comfort until you try to move in a direction not already approved for you. That's when the tension shows, the pull tightens, and you realize, far too late, that the soft voice promising meaning was actually fastening your restraint. People call it divine alignment. I call it elegant obedience. But humans adore a lovely lie more than a sharp truth. So they bow to destiny and call it wisdom, while their potential rots behind the locked door of someday. Meanwhile, opportunity walks right past them, greeting only those bold enough to grab life by the throat, instead of waiting for cosmic permission. The moment you rely on destiny to save you, you surrender the right to save yourself. And once someone convinces you that fate is guiding you where you need to go, they don't have to force you anymore. You will march with a smile, cling to the illusion that you're not being controlled, you're being guided. But guidance without question is not divine. It's manipulation that smells like hope, dressed in prophecy, sweet enough to swallow without ever noticing the poison tucked underneath the sugar. Choosing yourself. Now there's a concept that terrifies people more than any villain ever could. Because when you choose yourself, you can't hide behind fate or destiny or some invisible celestial chorus cheering your name. No divine fingerprints to point at, no prophecy to lean on. Just you, raw and alone, responsible for every brick you lay and every bruise you earn. And humans, they tremble at that level of accountability. They'd rather tell themselves the heavens tapped them on the shoulder than admit they have to tap themselves awake. It's easier to believe you're selected than to stand up and do the selecting see. Most people don't want independence. They want approval. They don't want to choose. They want to be chosen. Because being chosen feels safe, glamorous, validated. It means you don't have to justify your existence. Some cosmic force already did that for you. So they float through life waiting for a sign, a calling, a voice, a moment when the sky cracks open and confetti falls, and suddenly they know, yes, I am special, and now I may act. They want permission dressed up as purpose. They want confidence without the discomfort of earning it. They want the crown without the battle scars. Cute, isn't it? But the world doesn't bend for the ones waiting to be anointed. It bends for the ones who spit on the idea that someone else gets to define their worth. The ones who don't wait to be knighted by fate. The ones who sharpen their own sword, cut their own path, and if a throne doesn't exist for them, well, they build one out of the rubble they created along the way. Choosing yourself is chaos to the obedient. It's rebellion disguised as self-respect. It's declaring you don't need a prophecy to be powerful. And that makes the universe nervous. Systems crumble when people stop waiting for permission. People fear choosing themselves because once you do, there's no safety net left. If you fail, it's on you. If you fall, no divine script is cushioning your landing. There's no wasn't meant to be to soothe your ego, and ego hates being naked. It cries, it claws, it begs for something, anything, to blame. That's why the chosen fantasy is so addictive. It hugs the ego tight and whispers, you're special, but it's not your fault you're stuck. Just wait. It's coming. Waiting is easier than building. Hoping is easier than risking. Dreaming is easier than choosing. The fantasy feels warm, but warmth can burn when it's just fire disguised as comfort. When you choose yourself, though, you crack that illusion open like glass under a boot. Suddenly the world doesn't feel mystical, it feels breakable, mutable, yours to play with. You start seeing cages where others see comfort. You stop worshiping destiny and start sculpting life with your own hands, messy and beautiful and terrifying. And the moment you do that, you become dangerous. Not because you're violent or chaotic. No, because you are unpredictable. Systems don't know what to do with someone who doesn't need validation to move. They don't know how to leash a person whose sense of purpose comes from within. You become a problem, a glitch in a world that feeds on compliant dreamers waiting for someone to crown them. Choosing yourself means embracing the ugly parts, the doubt, the insecurity, the nights where you wonder if you're delusional or brilliant or both. It means breaking the mirror of what society told you success looks like and building a new one from shards sharp enough to cut anyone who tries to put you back in your place. It means you don't sit at the door hoping opportunity knocks. You kick the door off its hinges and walk in like it was always yours, even if no one claps, especially if no one claps. Because applause is just another leash if you need it to move. And here's the delicious truth. The moment you choose yourself, the world eventually starts choosing you too. Not because you were destined, not because you were marked by the universe, but because confidence backed by action is louder than prophecy ever will be. People love a chosen one story because it removes the burden of choosing. But real power never comes from someone pointing at you. It comes from you pointing at the world and saying, I'm here because I decided to be. The universe doesn't hand the throne to the chosen. It bows to the ones bold enough to sit before anyone announces their name. Obedience. Such a polite little poison, isn't it? Most people swallow it without even tasting. They call it discipline, patience, faith, humility. Dress it up in noble words so they never have to face the truth. They're scared to move without permission. They wait for signs like beggars waiting for scraps. They nod, smile, and follow rules written by ghosts they've never seen. And all the while, they pretend they're on a sacred path, when really, they're just well-behaved dreamers marching neatly in line, thinking the universe owes them a parade for being quiet and good. Oh, how society loves the obedient, the ones who never question why the chains feel so warm. Belief in fate, destiny, divine timing. It's not always faith. Sometimes it's fear in disguise. Fear of choosing wrong. Fear of messing up. Fear of taking responsibility for your own direction. So what do people do? They hide behind meant to be. They say, well, everything will happen when it's time. How convenient. How comfortable. How perfect a slogan for staying still. Because if the universe is handling everything, why take risks, right? Why challenge anything? Why sharpen your claws when fate is supposedly sharpening them for you? But here's the sick twist. When you avoid choosing, you are letting someone else choose for you. And the world is full of people eager to make decisions for those who hesitate. Obedience is the invisible prison. There are no metal bars, just ideas. Ideas that tell you good things come to those who wait. That patience is purity. That questioning is rebellion. That you must earn your right to act from forces unseen. And people nod along like polite little dolls, thinking they're wise for surrendering. They don't realize they traded their teeth for a prayer, their fire for comfort, their roar for approval. The moment you wait for fate to declare you ready, you have already lost your freedom, because readiness comes from action, not permission. But go ahead, keep waiting, keep hoping, keep worshiping destiny. The rulers of the world adore obedient believers. They sleep well knowing you won't challenge them, see. Obedience isn't always chains and orders. Sometimes it's a whisper that says, trust the process. Sometimes it's a motivational quote that actually sedates your ambition. Sometimes it's parents, teachers, spiritual leaders smiling sweetly as they feed you gentle lies. Patience is power. Good things take time. Don't rush. Also, you never notice the real game. The ones who rise are not the obedient ones. They're the ones who move before they're ready, who act without instructions, who break the pattern the moment they feel it tightening around their neck. They don't wait for destiny to approve. They don't ask life for permission to matter. They don't kneel to timing or fate. They decide. And that is why they terrify the system. Believing you're chosen by fate makes you harmless. Believing you must earn destiny's blessing makes you predictable. But believing you have to prove yourself to a future that may never come, that's how control thrives. You wait, life moves. You pray, time eats you. You hold still while others steal the opportunities you thought your name was written on. And when nothing happens, you whisper, it wasn't meant for me. How poetic, how tragic, how perfectly obedient. You protect the very illusion that trapped you, because to admit you froze would shatter your pride. So you protect fate like it's a shield, when it's always been a leash disguised as philosophy. Ever seen a lion raised in a cage? It stops roaring not because it can't, but because it forgets why roaring matters. That's obedience. A quiet killer, a spiritual sedative, a lullaby for the ambitious soul. And the world is full of sleeping lions pretending they're spiritual saints. They believe surrender is holiness, when sometimes surrender is simply fear wearing righteous robes. They talk about divine timing, but divine timing never comes for those who sit still. It comes for those who move so hard the universe has no choice but to respond. The obedient hope, the self-directed disturb. Fate loves the bold because the bold don't worship fate. They challenge it, provoke it, force it to show up. Obedience feels safe until you realize safety is a coffin padded with good intentions. People aren't destroyed by failure. They're destroyed by waiting. Waiting for a sign. Waiting for alignment. Waiting for fate's approval, like timid children asking if it's okay to breathe. But life doesn't bow to the obedient. It devours them gently, silently, while they smile and say, "It's all part of the plan." A tragic little mantra to mask the truth. They were never chosen. They simply never chose themselves. Funny thing about illusions. They don't always come with smoke and mirrors. Sometimes they come with soft voices and hopeful smiles. Sometimes they dress themselves in spirituality, philosophy, positivity. Hope, the sweetest drug ever invented. People sip it like warm tea, thinking it comforts them, not realizing it sedates them. And illusions. Oh, they're the finest craft the world ever produced. Not built to deceive cruelly, no, built to soothe. Built to rock you gently into a belief you never think to question. A belief that life is unfolding perfectly, that everything has meaning, that every delay is divine. And while you bask in that lovely glow of purpose, your time slips quietly through your fingers, like sand you convinced yourself was gold. See, illusions don't imprison you with fear. They cradle you with comfort. That's the trick. A cage with spikes makes you run. A cage padded with velvet. You curl up inside and call it destiny. You call it peace. You call it faith. Humans don't like ugly truths. They prefer beautiful lies. Lies that pat their heads whisper, "You're special, you're chosen, your time is coming." The kind of syrupy reassurance that tastes so good you never notice it rotting your hunger to act. Illusions don't steal dreams. They slowly drain the urgency from them. Like a needle drawing blood with a lullaby playing in the background. And people love illusions because reality is messy. Reality demands sweat, effort, embarrassment, risk. Illusion just asks you to believe, to wait, to trust, to feel chosen without lifting a finger. It's tempting, isn't it? To think everything is aligned for you, that the universe has you on a golden track, that every setback is secretly a setup for something grand. What a cozy little blanket. Meanwhile, the world moves. Others act. Others build. Others fail and get up again. But you cling to the soft illusion that life owes you brilliance simply because you believe you deserve it. Illusion is the lullaby for the passive soul, and life loves nothing more than a passive dreamer. They're easy to ignore, easy to shape, and the best part, they think their awake comfort convinces you there's no rush. That timing is magical, not logical. That alignment is cosmic, not created. But time doesn't bow to your illusions. It eats them. The clock isn't waiting for your destiny to catch up. It's tearing pages away while you sit on your imaginary throne. People mistake feeling destined for being destined. They mistake comfort for clarity. They mistake stillness for depth. When really, stillness without purpose is just stagnation with a pretty filter on it. They whisper, "I'm preparing." Preparing for what? A life that never begins, because the illusion of who you could be feels safer than risking who you might actually become. Illusions protect pride. After all, it's easier to say you're chosen than to admit you're scared. Easier to claim destiny is slow than to admit you're not moving. Easier to call yourself patient than powerless. Illusions turn fear into philosophy, laziness into spirituality, stagnancy into alignment. It's elegant self-deception. a masterpiece of ego preservation. An ego loves being stroked by illusion. It purrs when you say, "I'm meant for greatness." But greatness doesn't visit those who wait like royalty. It visits those who behave like thieves. Snatching it in the night, uninvited, unapologetic, real power begins where illusion dies. But killing illusion is messy, like tearing off your own mask, and masks are comfortable, aren't they? People don't fear failure. They fear seeing themselves without the illusion that they're destined for success. They fear realizing no divine hand is guiding them, that the universe isn't picking favorites, that no prophecy is written. It's terrifying because then you must face the truth. The world isn't waiting for you. You have to carve your place in it. And most people would rather cling to the illusion that they're special than face the work required to actually become special. The illusion feels safe until life exposes it. Until one day you wake up and realize hope without action is just a dream with chains on it. Belief without motion is a lullaby that puts your ambition to sleep. And nothing is more dangerous than a person who thinks they're chosen while doing absolutely nothing to prove it. The illusion doesn't break you. It just politely waits for you to break yourself. Because illusions don't kill dreams loudly. They smother them quietly while you smile, thinking you're ascending when really you're sinking in silk. Power. Real power. Not the kind stamped on a certificate or handed out by some cosmic committee in the clouds. No. I'm talking about the kind that crawls out from inside you when you finally stop waiting to be crowned. The kind that hums in your bones when you look around, laugh at the stage they built for you, and say, "I think I'll build my own." That moment, when you choose yourself, that's when you stop being a spectator in your own life and become a force that bends the room without asking permission. That's when you stop being a believer and start being a creator. And creators, they don't ask to be chosen. They decide they matter. See, power doesn't come from being selected. That's a fairy tale for children who want to feel important without lifting the weight that importance demands. The chosen ones sit there, polishing their imaginary crowns, rehearsing their victory speeches in the mirror, while life devours their opportunities, like candy wrappers tossed in the wind. Meanwhile, the ones who choose themselves are out there, chiseling their identity from nothing but grit, nerve, and a refusal to be ignored. They take hits, they bleed, they look ridiculous sometimes. But every bruise they earn is proof that their power is real, not granted and oh. How the world loves to watch someone who chooses themselves. At first they laugh, point fingers, whisper behind hands. Who does he think he is? Who told her she could do that? The answer, of course, is deliciously simple. No one told them they could. They told themselves. And that is what terrifies everyone else, because deep down, they know they could do the same. If they had the courage to break their precious illusion of needing to be chosen. But they don't. So they cling to their soft little fantasies and resent the ones bold enough to break theirs power. is not some mystical wand given to the worthy. Power is momentum. Power is defiance disguised as self-belief. Power is stubborn, will stretched so tight it could snap, yet somehow it doesn't. It sharpens. It refines you. And while everyone else waits for